Right, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Hope you're doing good. I am great, thank you for asking. Well, the plan was to do a bit of filming out, walking the dog this morning, but the weather was horrendous, as you can see. Incredibly misty, quite wet. Was not a good idea to film. But we're here, we're recording, we're doing it now. So, now that I've got my morning coffee sorted, we are going to be going through a couple of things today. I am going to be taking you through a push workout with one of my clients, Joe. Joe is currently in the run-up to his Universe show in November. He's a men's physique competitor. We've done 2 shows this season so far. We had the NABBA qualifiers and the NABBA British, where we took home 3rd in both shows. And we knew from that show what we needed to do for him going into the NABBA Universe. So we've been focusing on a couple of key things to make sure that we bring in a better package, a tighter package. Basically that just means he's got more muscle and looks leaner for his next show. So we're going to be taking you through his workout today, and I'm going to be training with Joe. Some of the things that you might see in that session are a little bit different to what I usually train. You guys know by now that my training's pretty simple. There's nothing too technical in there. I just focus on the basics, try and improve them, progress them every single week as much as I can, and that's how we work. Doesn't need to be anything crazy. And that's sort of what led me into wanting to do this episode today, because there's some really common mistakes I see people make when it comes to their training. So as we go through today, I'm going to be talking you through my 3 biggest training mistakes. So one of the biggest mistakes that I've got no background lighting. Bear with me. There we are. That's better. Right, that's a little bit better. Yeah, training mistakes. One of the biggest training mistakes that I see people making consistently that's stopping them from growing as much muscle tissue or making as much progress as quick as they possibly could is trying to do too much in the gym. And this means how often they're training per week, or it might even mean the amount they're doing in one specific session. Usually, it's a combination of the 2 of them. I speak to a lot of people who, when they're trying to build muscle tissue, they're telling me that they're going to the gym like a minimum of 5, sometimes 6, even 7 times a week, sometimes even twice a day, to try and get in as many workouts as they can, to try and build muscle tissue as quick as they can. But it does not work like this. You won't build more muscle tissue by simply going to the gym more frequently. Because when we think about what the gym actually does, we know that the purpose of going to the gym from a muscle building point of view, a hypertrophy point of view, is literally just to tear muscle fibers, right? It's to break down muscle fibers so that then when you go away from the gym and you recover and you eat and you rest, those muscle fibers can grow back bigger and stronger. Going to the gym itself, ironically, only makes you weaker if you don't do everything else outside of the gym that's going to help you grow and come back stronger, because all the gym is doing is breaking down muscle tissue. Now, if you're going to the gym every single day, you're not giving your body any chance to rest or recover. All you're going to be doing is consistently tearing muscle fiber, tearing muscle fiber, tearing muscle fiber, keeping your body in a state of stress, which is going to reduce its ability to grow and get bigger anyway. And it's also meaning that you're probably going to get weaker over time, or you might even notice that you're not getting any stronger, training feels harder and you've got less energy, and you are consistently sore day to day. That is not what you want. If you want to grow muscle tissue, you need to make sure that you train with intensity and effort, knowing exactly what you're wanting to do. You need to make sure that you have a plan that means you're hitting your muscle groups 2 to 3 times per week. Most people can hit that and eat well and recover and rest properly and grow muscle tissue at a consistent rate. So make sure you're training 2 to 3 times a week. Make sure within those workouts that you are putting a lot of effort and a lot of intensity in, and then make sure outside of those workouts that you are prioritizing your recovery. You're making sure you're eating enough protein, you're eating enough calories, you're getting a good night's sleep every night. If you are consistently sore, if you have DOMS for 3-4 days after every single workout, that is not a good sign. And it winds me up because I think that there's a lot of PTs and coaches out there that wear this badge of honor of making sure that their clients leave a workout unable to walk for the next few days. Like, the more pain they're in, the better job they've done. And it's just not the case, because that's not doing you any good. All that means is that you've done far too much and you're not capable of recovering from that training volume, which means they're actually only making you weaker, which I'm pretty sure nobody wants. Right. And the second way this works is doing too much within one workout. So if you're like 99% of us, just wanting to build a bit of muscle, maybe even lose a bit of body fat along the way, wanting to feel a bit better about yourself, get a bit stronger. Training isn't your entire life. You're not wanting to get on the stage in a pair of Speedos. You're not wanting to go and do a strongman competition or anything like that. Then you only need to be training for 45 minutes to an hour, really. Making sure that those sessions are, again, high intensity. You put the work in, you're tracking what you're doing, you're progressing your movements. That is all you need to do 3 to 4 times a week, and you will see absolutely solid progress. But when I see people training for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours sometimes, chances are they're doing doing too much, right? And especially when you see someone, and I had this conversation where I trained with a friend and we were training chest. Now this is years and years and years ago when I still trained body part workouts, which we know there's not much point in doing, but we were training chest and we were following his workout and there was about 8 different exercises for chest. Now back then I didn't have the understanding or the knowledge to question that. I just knew that I was struggling to keep up and that it felt like a long session, and after 3 chest exercises I was bored. But looking back on that now, having so many exercises for one muscle group in one workout makes no logical sense, because what that tells me is that if you're able to perform 6 to 7 different exercises on the same muscle group in the same workout, you're probably performing 4 of them incorrectly, or you're probably not putting enough effort into the 4 of them, because once you've done 2 of them with enough effort and enough intensity, you'll probably be able to get a 3rd exercise out, but then that should be an absolute max. If you're doing any more than that, certainly for chest at least, you're probably not performing the first few movements correctly. So you need to scale this back. You need to just focus on the movement you're performing, the muscle you're trying to work, and putting some effort into those movements. And you will see much more progress through those movements than you will trying to do too many. If you're trying to do all those movements, you're basically trying to throw shit at a wall and hoping something sticks. Instead, scale it back, focus on what you're doing, and focus on progressing a few specific movements that you feel a good connection with or that you enjoy doing. So that is the first biggest mistake I see people make when it comes to building muscle tissue. Okay, cool. So we are going to take a quick break there because I need to go and get a haircut, hence why I've got the hat on this morning. My hair is an absolute state. So we're going to go get a haircut. When we're going to get back, we're going to go through point number 2, and then we're going to head to the gym to train with Joe. Okay, we are back from the barber's. A nice, whoa, they were falling over the dog. A nice overdue haircut, so we'll jump into point number 2. Okay, so mistake number 2 I see people making when it comes to building muscle in the gym is they massively overcomplicate the situation. So what you'll see is people using a lot of resistance bands or bits of equipment, and the dog's going to jump off the crate. Oh. Take 2. Now that the dog's not trying to jump off the top of things. So, it's people trying to overcomplicate their training, trying to watch what the elite level bodybuilders or athletes are doing and trying to copy their training into their own programming. Now, the problem with this is that you do not need to go to that extreme. You do not need to go to that level. The guys that are doing the reverse band hack squats, that are using the single arm pull down, single arm cuff work, that are getting super technical with their training, they've probably been nailing the basics for a long time and got as much progress out of them as they probably could, and it's time for them to introduce something new. But when it comes to 99% of us, we don't need to do that. We don't need to be overcomplicating training and making it harder than it needs to be. You just need to focus on the absolute basics and focus on getting strong through those movements. So when we're looking at that, we want to stop thinking about exercise and we want to start thinking about movements. Okay, so instead of thinking about a dumbbell chest press, we want to think about a horizontal push. Okay, so we've got different movements like this. We've got vertical push, which is like a shoulder press. We've got horizontal push, like a chest press. We've got a vertical pull for pull downs, for lats. We've got horizontal pull, which is a row. We've got hip hinge movements. We want to start thinking in these terms and make sure that through our training across the week, we are hitting these basic movements consistently and that we're focusing on progressing them and getting them stronger. That is as simple as it needs to be. So it can quite literally be as simple as a machine chest press, a dumbbell shoulder press, a lat pull down machine, a dumbbell row, a barbell RDL, or a back squat, or something like that that is not overly complicated, that isn't going to require a big setup or loads of fancy equipment, but you can simply just focus on getting that movement right, nailing the execution, and then focus on getting stronger through that movement over a set period of time. That is literally all you have to focus on doing. You don't have to overcomplicate things, and I think people get lost, and I think it's easy to get tangled up in the nuances and all the fancy and shiny new toys and new exercises that you see put about on social media, but it's probably just holding you back from making some actual progress because you're more interested or putting too much attention and time into learning how to set up a brand new exercise that's super intricate to hit a specific part of the muscle, when actually you've not repped out, you've not maxed out your potential for muscle growth through a normal lat pull down movement. So don't get lost in those things. Don't fall into that temptation of overcomplicating your training, putting too many exercises in there, adding in resistance bands and all this kind of stuff just because it's what you see other people do. It's probably not what you need to be doing right now, and it's probably going to be holding you back from making some basic but actually foundational and very, very successful progress. Okay, with that being said, it is time to head across to the gym to meet Joe for our push workout. So, like I mentioned earlier in the video, we are going to be going through Joe's session. So there are going to be some exercises in Joe's programming that you might see us do that I wouldn't necessarily perform in my own programming because I don't need to. It's a bit more advanced, it's a bit more technical than what I would need to do. But because Joe is prepping for the universe, because Joe is the priority right now, and I want to see how he's performing those movements, and I want to make sure he's executing them properly, we're still focusing on him getting stronger, on him getting everything he can out of those sessions. So we're going to jump across now. We're going to go into the push workout with Joe. You guys are going to get to see a bit of that, and we'll come back for mistake number 3 after the training session.
Sounds good.
Right, okay, so that was push with Joe. So, mistake number 3. Take 2. Mistake number 3 is that you're probably not logging and tracking your workouts. So one of the biggest things that you can do with it, which is gonna slow down your rate of progress, both in how much muscle you build and your strength in those movements, is not logging your training. If you are just going into your workouts and you're trying to just remember what you did last week and you get into the machine and it's just a case of trying to just remember, right, what did I do last week? Taking a guess, putting the stack on and going. The chances are with those sets, you're probably just repeating what you did the week before. There's not really any intent there. There's not really any purpose to that session because you're probably just going in and spinning your wheels, even if you don't realize it. One of the best things that you can do is start logging and tracking your training, and this is something I get all my clients to do across the board. I provide them with a logbook, but I also tell them that if they want to use pen and paper, that's fine, as long as they log their training. Because once you start logging your training, you'll start taking accountability for the effort that you put into those workouts. If you're not logging it, there's nothing to force you to go into that session and put some effort in, because no one's gonna know. You're the only one that's gonna know, but you're gonna let yourself off. When you start tracking it, you can't do that anymore. You have some physical numbers that you can see you did last week that you now need to try to be this week. This is one of the best ways to make sure that every single week you have a really clear goal and a clear understanding of what you need to do to improve that movement. It could be lifting more weight, or it could be just getting one extra rep. That's literally all that is required sometimes. And depending on the muscle group will depend on what you aim for. Smaller muscle groups like side delts or biceps or triceps, you're more than likely not going to be progressing the weight every single week. It's unrealistic. So you might aim to get one extra rep with the same weight every week. That's still progress. Or for bigger muscle groups like legs, back, chest, that kind of thing, you've probably got more of a chance of bumping that weight up a little bit every single week and trying to maintain the reps that you're hitting. It doesn't really matter how you do it as long as you are tracking it and you are focusing on progressing. So for all the clients that I work with, they all have 12 weeks of clear progressions laid out. We know from week 1 what we want to be hitting by week 5, by week 8, by week 10, by week 12. So they've got clear goals to aim towards and to hit so that we know that they're progressing their movements and ultimately they're getting stronger. If you're going into the gym and you're putting effort into your workouts, you're hitting every muscle group 2 to 3 times a week, you're getting stronger every single week or near enough every week across those movements, and then you're making sure that you rest and you recover enough to come back better, you're going to build muscle tissue. You just will. There's nothing else to say on it. If you make sure you're doing those things, then you're going to be building muscle tissue, and tracking your training is one of the best ways to make sure that you're progressing those movements. So if you're not currently doing it, you need to start doing this, because this could be one of the serious flaws of your training that's massively holding you back. So there we are. That is it. The 3 biggest mistakes I see people make when it comes to building muscle tissue. Guys, as ever, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you found the content useful. And if you can, comment below, subscribe to the channel, share it on your social medias, all that stuff. Anything you can do massively helps me out. Guys, I will see you in the next video.